English, and welcome to yet another episode of What's Happening Now with Laura. 1 year ago, this week, elections were called. However, by the sentiment on the ground, today, you would think that elections is 1 year from now. Tomorrow, just tomorrow alone, has two political rallies. One in support of and one protesting the same issues. Wow. I personally love it. I don't know about other people, but I'm a political junkie. I love everything about politics. I mean, sometimes it can get tiring. Sometimes it could just be downright, ugh. But I actually love it. Call me weird, call me whatever, but I actually love it. I love when there's strong opposition in the country. I love when government is kept on its toes, because opposition is right there on the money, on the ball, questioning, asking the right questions, keeping government alert. I love it. However, we seem to have caught a really nasty case of election fever. And I'm wondering, could we possibly be making history? Could there possibly be a recall in the wings? I mean, are we at some point going to see a vote of no confidence, judging by the popular voices? You hear the same voices over and over, but they're loud and they're vociferous and they're insistent, that government is doing the wrong things and they're making so many mistakes and they're just not in favor of the country. They're sustainable development, despite the fact that the naysayers are the ones speaking out against development. But to hear them, if you listen, it is government who's against development of people, development of its resources, development of or protection of its patrimony, and yada, 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 yada. And it just keeps going on. The DSH deal is hitting up. The church has joined the fray, and then since retracted and apologized for supporting the opposition St. Labour Party and the trust in speaking out against the DSH project and whatever else that they had a grief against. It just doesn't stop. The fever is it's hitting up so much. It's just at the point where you wonder if you're just going to explode, when politicians are beginning to, I'm not sure if to say misspeak, or to deliberately mislead people. I mean, I couldn't believe my ears when I was listening to Dr. Ernest Hiller's presentation in the House, when he actually said he was listing properties, hotels that had gone into receivership. And lo and behold, he said in 2011, one of those properties was Coconut Bay. And I live in the South. And I have lots of friends who work with Coconut Bay. And I couldn't remember when Coconut Bay was in receivership. So it was no big surprise to me to read Coconut Bay asking for an apology or a retraction from Ernest Hiller, when he said not once, at least twice, that Coconut Bay had been in receivership in 2011. And I'm asking myself a question. It begs the question, did he misspeak? Did he understand? What was his point of saying? Was he not sure? What was the point? And I would really love to hear him say, because it's one thing to hear your business that you work hard to maintain as a going concern was in receivership and you're not even aware. Then on the flip side, it asks, was everybody else in the House sleeping? Does nobody know what's going on in tourism? Are we just paying lip service? Or are they just paying lip service when they're in the House pretending to pay attention to the contributions of each other? Nobody stopped Dr. Hiller and say, no, Coconut Bay was never in receivership. Never. And I made my inquiries, my personal inquiries. And I found out that I was right. No, they were never in receivership. So I really, although he does not need to make an apology, because he has the protection of the house, because he said it in the house. And but I would think, as a gentleman, as he always purports himself to be, that he would make the retraction and apologize to Coconut Bay, the owners, the staff, the management of Coconut Bay, for making that kind of a statement, because it's really, you know, ugh. Now, at some point, I don't know if you guys watch, but I always try to get as much of the budget debate, the policy debate, as possible. So I hope you guys were listening, because last week we were supposed to talk about it, but we didn't have a show. At some point during the debate, opposing members refused to speak. And I'm asking myself, what was the point of that? I mean, all these people playing games in Parliament. What was the point of refusing to speak? First of all, I was ticked off because I sat there and I started sending, after a while, I started sending messages to any and everybody who had a phone, who possibly could be looking at the phone to answer questions, because I sat down at 9 o'clock and there was nothing. No television station was covering the policy debate. 10 o'clock, nothing. Not until 10:30 was the broadcast, made available to us viewing, only to find out that parliamentarians were straggling in 1.5 hours late. And that one he's talking about, and Dr. Hilaire pisses me off sometimes, pisses me right off. Because, I mean, I can understand that you're going to be late or whatever, but then to tell me that it's because government did not sign on to having the 4-lane highway, that's why you were late, because traffic was so outrageous. I mean, seriously? Please, somebody tell me that he was just joking and that was an outlandish joke. I mean, it wasn't funny, because that was an outlandish statement to have made. To say that it's because of traffic that you were late. You know that you're going to be in the house. You know that the house is convened at 9 o'clock. Don't tell me it's going to take you an hour to get to town and you're going to leave your home at 8 o'clock, knowing full well that this is rush hour. That makes no sense. That's just like the teachers saying, oh, they came late to school, to class, because they have husbands to take care of and they've got children and some of them are coming from far. You know, when I have to go to work, and I start work at 8 o'clock, no matter where I live, and I live in the South, and there was one point in time when I worked in Rodney Bay, and I drove every day to work, and I got to work on time every day. It took me an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, to get to work, and I was at work early every day. You know why? Because I knew how long it took me from Labrie to Castries, and how long it was going to take me from Castries to Rodney Bay, and I always allocated at least a half hour spare time, just in the event that there was an accident or something on the road. I made allowances, and that's what normal, responsible people do. So don't give me that excuse. You have a presentation to make in the house. You have to represent your constituency, and by extension, you've got to represent the country at large, because we're listening to you. Especially the young people. We want to hear what contributions you have to make. We want to criticize. We want to break it apart. We want to say, okay, this is a man who is offering us something different. But you're just the same. You're just the same. You come late and make a stupid joke or whatever. I would like to think it was a joke about why you were late. You come in and you spewing out statistics, erroneous, but if it was somebody else, there would be called a liar. If it was somebody else, you would have some sort of picong to make about it, and that's stupid. It's stupid. There's picong and then there's picong, it's stupid. So I would expect better from Dr. Ernest Hilaire. Much, much, much better. Much better. In the meanwhile, some of the parliamentarians decide not to even attend. I even understand that one prominent opposition parliamentarian said that he had to be in court. And I'm saying to myself, listen, you are a parliamentarian. Everybody knows it. You know that you have to be in Parliament. through your lawyers, could you not petition the court to excuse you or give you an extension? You had to be there on that day, forgoing the business of the people whom you claim to love so much and you hold so dear and near to you. Does that make sense to you people? That making no sense? By your daughter, your wife, or yourself dying, there's absolutely no reason, to my mind, according to the young people, at least in my days, to biss Parliament and tell me you're at court. That's why we have lawyers. I mean, judges and magistrates are supposed to be reasonable thinking people. I am certain if you petition them and say, okay, this doesn't work for me because I need to be attending to the work of the people, some sort of arrangement could be made. I don't get it. What could possibly negate a person from being at Parliament? Sing about the people who elected you, and I don't care what side of the fence you are. There's absolutely no reason for you not to be there. That makes no sense. Meanwhile, our nation's men continue to be killing themselves, whether it's through suicide or homicide. Our children are facing a bleak future because unemployment is still at an all-time high, and there's no prospect of employment anywhere on the horizon. Whatever prospect there is, we're bickering about it, and I understand. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that if something does not sit right with you, doesn't feel right, you don't have a right to discuss it and ask questions about it. But if you keep asking the same questions over and over and you keep getting the same answers over and over, isn't that some form of insanity? Can you not wait to see or to be proven wrong? I know nobody wants to wait because, oh my God, the country will just crumble and we go the way of Greece if we wait. But we have watchdogs. We have, I can say, a superlative opposition. Just give it a little time. Can we not? I'm asking the question. We have issues of a new festival, which is supposed to be running 6 months out of the year, which is supposed to be generating some sort of revenue or some sort of avenue for us. And we're busy playing semantics, according to Philip J. Pierre, with whether it is Soleil Festival or whether it's the Jazz Festival. And by the way, speaking of jazz, I have never, ever seen a more lackluster, a more tepid communications or PR presentation of any festival. I mean, on the one hand, you have Soleil, which is in its introductory stages, which means that it needs all the PR it can possibly get and then some, because it's something new, it's something supposed to be dynamic and vibrant. So you want buy-in. So your PR has to be on point. And I can tell you a little bit something about that. That's my life, that's my business, that's what I do. And then on the other hand, you've got the Jazz Festival, which is at its maturity stage, which means it's at the point where you're looking to revamp it. So we've had 25 years of jazz as we knew it, which really wasn't a jazz festival, more a music festival as opposed to a jazz festival. And now you're looking to change it up a little bit, almost like Arm & Hammer. You remember Arm & Hammer, the baking soda? We only knew baking soda for one thing, right? And all of a sudden, Arm & Hammer baking soda had gotten to its maturity stage in its product life cycle. For those of you who know a little bit about marketing, it had gotten to the maturity stage of its life cycle. And then what did Arm & Hammer do? They found different uses for baking soda. So now all of a sudden you have baking soda in your toothpaste. You've got baking soda in your laundry detergent. You can use baking soda in your fridge for odor. You can use baking soda for so many different things. And poof, just like that, Arm & Hammer baking soda had new life. And on the cycle, its product life cycle, it was growing again. Not just at maturity. So it had gotten to the point where it was almost at a decline. And then it got new impetus and was growing. This is where the Jazz Festival, to my mind, is. So all the naysayers who said, oh, no more jazz, they killed jazz, jazz finished. What is your intention? How are you helping your country and yourself? Personally, for me, I would like to know what the numbers are. I want to know what the objective of the new jazz festival is, what it's supposed to encapsulate, and what it's supposed to garner, what it's supposed to bring to the table. And I want to know what the end result of having the jazz festival as a pure jazz festival is. I want to know what the numbers are juxtaposed against last year or previous years. I want to know, okay, so we know that the numbers in terms of attendance was not that great, but the dollar value is what I'm interested in. 14,000 complimentary tickets and cutting it. It looks good on television, I know. It looks good on television, but you know what? You can make anything look good on television if you know what to do and what to look for. You can make anything look good on television. So yeah, 14,000 free tickets, out the door. No wonder jazz had to be revamped. It had to change because it was more of a sinking hole. You're spending all that money, but you're not making it back. And I know originally the objective was to bring in people so that the hotels in a slow season could be filled. But I think that objective has been met. So if the objective had been met, you need a new objective. You need something else to justify having the jazz festival around. And I'm all for justification. I'm all for results, the bottom line. Hey, call me a capitalist if you want. But at the end of the day, there's always a bottom line, whether it is for profit or not for profit. And we must always keep our eye on that bottom line. You know? So that's my little rant. Oh, I was appalled. Meanwhile, while we're playing politics, we're playing politics. They say it's not good, Dolphinarium, and we're going to talk about a little bit more about that later on in the show. This is not good. Labour, Flabo not good. We put them out. Less than a year. We need a change of government. We're talking politics all the time. And as I said, I love it. But meanwhile, I wonder how many of you heard Jason Hollinshead, communications manager of the CCC, say that in the process of relocating certain vendors who operated near the Ave Maria school, primary school, while relocating or moving those vending eyesores, that they found marijuana hidden in those implements. And it begs the question, why would anybody be hiding marijuana right there? Is there some sort of underground trade going on right there, right next to a primary school this big? And not too far from it, we have the RC Boys School, primary and infant school. I hope that the authorities look into that. Because to me, it was very appalling, and there's a deep need for concern. We can't have that. I bet you nobody heard that. And while Ras Ipa is busy talking, I wonder if he heard the communications manager said that he found marijuana hidden in those huts or in these contraptions that his vendors were vending in. Did he hear that? You know, sometimes it's not just all about protecting your members. Sometimes it's about protecting the customers, the citizens from your vendors. Because if your vendors are dealing with illicit drugs, you have a problem. We have a problem. The country has a problem. Right in such close proximity to our young people. Yeah. Something's wrong. So I'm looking forward to hearing Ras Ipa talk about that. While he's talking about everything else, I hope he talks about that. Anyway, I can't really talk too much because you can hear my voice is cracking up. I'm recovering from not anything major, but my voice is cracking up. So bear with me. I will lose my voice from time to time, but I'm sure you'll hear me and we'll be able to converse. So we'll take a break right now, but when we come back, I'll introduce you to my guest who really needs no introduction, you know, and we'll take this course to a whole new level. See you on the other side of the break. Welcome back, St. Lucia, and thank you for staying tuned to what's happening now with Laura. As I said before the break, you will hear my voice cracking up. There's nothing I can do about it, but bear with me and we will make it through the evening. In studio with me, somebody who needs absolutely no introduction. She's not a stranger to our studios, nor is she a stranger to you. She's none other than Nicole McDonald, the Senior Communications Officer for government. And Nicole and I are going to rap a little bit about some of the issues that are trending right now, some of the issues that came up as a result of the debate. First of all, let's start with...
Hi, Laura.
Well, you know.
It's good to be back.
You know how it is. You know how it is.
I think the last time I was here was September.
Yes. Yes. I think you had not long taken up your post.
Yes.
And we were reintroducing you.
Yes.
To St. Lucia.
So nice of you to have me back.
Yeah, but then now that's out of the way. I know the viewers are itching to get to hear certain things.
Yes.
So, but let's start with the postponement or the adjournment of Parliament. Why until the 20th of June?
Well, did you watch Parliament that week?
I did.
It was very unsettling, and you saw the Prime Minister get up at one point and request a break because no one on the opposition side wanted to speak. And this was very concerning because there's a general rule that, you know, two persons go on the government side, one person goes on the opposition side. At one point, I was looking at it, and there was no one sitting on the opposition side at all. They were all AWOL. And, you know, it raises a lot of questions in terms of how people handle the government, the business of the people, you know, because we had already put forward, I think, 7 speakers, and they had only put forward 2. So I think the Prime Minister realized on Thursday afternoon that there would have been no way, with all the speakers that would have had, if everyone had to go on Friday, that we would have finished that week. So he decided to do what I think is very magnanimous. And, you know, they came together and decided that the next suitable date, since the opposition was not ready, would have been June 20th. So the debate will continue on June 20th. So what we saw was that the Prime Minister did have a chance to articulate the government's plans for the country in terms of his budget, building a new St. Lucia. However, the opposition didn't get a chance. Well, they didn't
squandered.
Yeah, they squandered the opportunity to speak out on the budget. So that definitely, I think, should concern people. I will let people judge for themselves. However, I think we had some excellent contributions from the government side, and that will continue on June 20th. So I don't want persons. If we had closed the House, then it would have probably been shouted that, you know, we didn't give the opposition a chance to speak.
Because
it would have been twisted in some way. So now what has happened is we will see as well on June 20th, and that week, if the opposition will take advantage of the opportunity to have their voices heard. If not, we might just hear from the government side and the debate would be closed.
Because I'm hearing people saying that they're running away, well, the opposition basically is saying that government is running away from debating the issues, and that they don't want to debate the issues because they know that they have this March rally thing coming up tomorrow, and so they didn't want to have to deal with the big issues before. So, you know,
that makes no sense. I mean, the opposition had said in their press conference, they had time to have a press conference the next day, actually, and they said that they were ready to debate.
But where were they?
So that's what I'm saying. Because, if you were so ready, why did you not take the opportunity to debate it?
I was really looking forward to hearing Sean Edwards. I wanted to know about the minister's account. So I really thought he would have taken the very first opportunity to clear his name and to clear all that.
At some point, his other members had to argue for him because he was not even in the House.
But that's the thing. At various points, I was wondering, because my mom would call me and say,
for most of the time, the leader of the opposition was there on his own.
On his own.
Yes.
And there were times when he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I just didn't get, I mean, I got calls asking me what's going on, and I had to say, people, I'm not in Parliament.
Yeah.
I'm at work. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm watching it just like you. I can see that there's nobody. I think at one point, the representative from Labrie was the lone ranger in the House.
Yeah.
And at another point,
at one point, I thought it was another disappearing act.
I saw a lone ranger, I saw a lone wolf, I saw a lot of lone things, but I didn't see a team.
The House is a collective, and this process is very important. It's very important for both sides to get involved. So the games that I saw, and I think a lot of St. Lucians saw the opposition playing, it's unacceptable. And I hope that we can rectify this situation by June 20th, or else, you know, the government will go ahead with the work of the people.
And that is what they were.
Our work continues. We have a guide, we have our budget, we have our estimates of expenditure, and the work of the people continues. Our agenda continues.
Absolutely. Anyway, enough of that. That's their grief. I mean, I would love to actually have one of them sitting where you are, so we can discuss the very same things that we're going to be discussing tonight from their perspective. Because I'm always up for both sides of fence, but I don't know if they're going to take me up on that.
Well, I'm here.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about one thing that came up, especially, I think it was from Dr. Ernest Hilaire. And I was a little concerned. I will not lie to tell you. I'm one who's always for development. I'm always for jobs, particularly for young people. And I heard for the first time about Ojo Labs, and I was very concerned based on the presentation that Dr. Ernest Hilaire made on Ojo Labs. Can you tell us what is Ojo Labs, and what are the implications of, give us some idea as to what Ojo Labs is and how they're coming, and what connection that the government is going to have with Ojo Labs?
The Prime Minister had spoken about Ojo Labs in his budget address. It's basically, what we're doing is trying to create employment, but also we want to train St. Lucians. So Ojo Labs is a company out of Austin, Texas, and one of the things they are experts in is ICT and artificial intelligence. So it's a very unique idea for not just St. Lucia, for the Caribbean. We're one of the first countries in the Caribbean who would be offering this type of training. So it's a very new and unique idea, and we hope, you know, we know solutions will embrace it. Because one of the things the actual developer involved in Ojo Labs said was solutions are very receptive to ICT training. We pick up those things very quickly because he had previously operated a call center in St. Lucia, which was very successful, which is one of the reasons we've decided to partner with him in terms of this project that we're doing. So basically, it's twofold. We want to reduce unemployment, especially in the South, and we want to offer training as well.
Now,
so this is where it falls under the apprenticeship program in terms of the training that we offer. But go ahead, I can go
Before we go any further, particularly for young people, hey, I know a lot of young people are watching. They tell me all the time, I mean, it's like, Laura, I watch you all the time. Explain for those young people what ICT and artificial intelligence is. So just they can have an idea as to what is in it for them. Is that something that they could see themselves doing?
Well, okay. Well, one of the sectors the government wants to grow is the information communications technology aspect. You see all what's going on in the world in terms of startups. You see what's happening. I'm sure a lot of young people have heard of Silicon Valley, you know, in terms of the success people have there from just starting a business or some kind of service on their computer. There's so many ways you can get into that sector, and the costs are very low in terms of starting up a business in those sectors. So that's one of the industries we really want to grow. What Ojo Labs is doing is basically they're setting up this real estate business in the United States. So the artificial intelligence is tied to their website. So persons would go to this basically AI, and they would request information about a property in the United States. So the computer would send information, the AI would send information to the person who's asking the questions about this property. Maybe does it have 3 bathrooms or something like that. Now, since it's such a new technology, there's a lot of things that the AI cannot process as yet. So you still need that human component. So this service has basically been outsourced to St. Lucia. So we will be basically receiving that information for the AI, making sense of it, and then sending that information back to the AI so it can transfer it to that customer in the US. So solutions will be trained to use this software. Ojo Labs is bringing in all the software for the training and everything like that. What we're giving, because it's a partnership, it's a collaboration. Government wants to see this project get off the ground. We want to see it succeed. We want our people to be trained so that they can start their own businesses, so that they can learn from this guy and start their own businesses, not just, you know, stay at the call center. So what we have decided to do is we're basically retrofitting the free zone area. This is our contribution. We'll basically be offering some incentives in terms of rent. So the rent will be waived for a certain period of time. That's one of the things we're doing. I did hear Dr. Ernest Hilaire shouting all kinds of things. I'm not sure if he got the information he got from the same place he got the Coconut Bay information.
Possible.
But what he was saying was ridiculous in terms of what government is giving up. We will not be paying electricity. We will not be paying the water. I also heard him say that we'll be paying the salaries of persons for an indefinite period of time.
Now that's where I got really concerned. I said, what?
As usual.
Hold the press.
I mean, one of the challenges I have found in communications today, and you've probably found it as well, is that you find yourself combating a lot of fake news. And the people you find perpetuating that fake news should know better, or they should do their research. So that concerns me very much. I do want to touch on something else I saw this evening, which caused me some alarm. If
it is what I saw, then we really need to touch on that. But let's get through this one first.
So I just want to say that yes, government is going to make a contribution for 6 months towards the salaries of the first 100 persons who are employed. And then after, we'll make a contribution of $500 towards the salaries of those persons for 18 months. So this is not an indefinite agreement. However, it is a partnership. We want to see this work. We want to see our people get this training. The free zone is ours. So when we retrofit it, and just to let you know, Laura, and to let the public of St. Lucia know, this has been done before for other call centers. You understand?
Is that right?
It has been done. I will not call names, but
So
it has
also
been done.
we're just playing semantics, right?
Exactly. It
All
has
right.
been done, and we've done a lot of other things in government previously for other call centers, you know, because government is interested primarily in employment, in growing the economy. So you want to see those things succeed,
Right.
but you don't supply, like you don't run a nice program, you know, for, you're supposed to run it for 3 years, and then you end up running
For
it
5 years.
Exactly.
And there's no rotation, which really sticks. I mean, I believe in the NICE program. It's in initial concept,
But it never
but it
never
never
got to that
materialized
point.
to that level, what it was supposed to have been. And I think that's
And
where my gripe is.
government has repeated that. We were not against the NICE program. The NICE program never got to a point where it reached its objectives.
Right.
And that is what we're trying to fix right now. You know, so
I also heard Dr. Ernest Hilaire in his contribution to the estimates of revenue and expenditure, and he made a comment, and he said it's almost as if he was perturbed at the amount of training programs that government was undertaking, you know, and I can't remember his exact words, so I'm not going to even try to go
Yeah,
there,
but
but he sounded really perturbed at the amount of training programs that government was undertaking and that they were putting money towards.
but that is
But yet, on the other hand, he said we need to spend more money,
Yes.
or we need to
Now,
invest in young
that,
people
that
some
is
more.
one of the issues that we're going to tackle. We want to train our people to get them ready for the workforce, because one of the things a lot of employers have complained about was the fact that the St. Lucia workforce is not ready, you know, and we keep importing work.
Well, our previous prime minister said that. I think I can't remember the exact percentage he said, but he said that this a significantly higher percentage than 50% of our people cannot access the work that is available because they don't have the necessary skills.
Exactly. So despite the fact that we have the laws in place where we advertise jobs locally, a lot of times you find that companies have to bring in other persons from overseas, or they have to outsource certain things. Like a lot of companies outsource their ICT to other countries. You
And we're
know?
benefiting from that right now.
Exactly, exactly. So government is going to focus, despite what Dr. Hill has said, on training our people and getting them ready. Right now, we have almost 50% unemployed young people. You know, young people, and we have school leavers coming up that we have to cater to as well.
What
So
I
it's important for, if they're not able to get jobs right away, at least they're not sitting at home. They're getting the opportunity to train. Government, and some of them can't even, and that's one of the things we will address as well under the National Apprenticeship Program, that we give them monies so that they're able to get to where they need to go.
Absolutely.
Because some of them, they don't even have the money for bus fare to get to their classes or their training or whatever. So, you know, we're trying to ascertain the needs of our people and respond to it in a way that they don't become dependent on government, that they're able to find their own way and become financially independent.
Now, I'll tell you something. I'm going to be watching you guys very closely on
Yes,
that, because that's
and
something
that's okay.
very close and near and dear to me in terms of the young people and development of young people. And I believe that if young people aren't able to get jobs in their country, they need to have skills that they can go elsewhere
Exactly.
to find them. And if we're going to train them, we're saying, oh, brain drain. No, we're getting our people, because when they go out there and they learn, we've trained them, they go out there and they put that into use and they learn more, because that's how training goes. You learn something, you put it into use, you learn something from somebody else, or in another job you learn, and then you come back to give back.
This type of training is very new. It's very innovative. It's not just about answering a phone. And I'm so happy that it's actually going to be in the south of the island, where we have the highest unemployment. So this is one of the things government is doing in terms of, you know, diversifying around the island, where we provide employment for persons, so persons don't necessarily all have to move to Castries. I know so many young people that I've worked with and went to school with that always had to travel up to Castries to get opportunities, and that needs to stop.
I was one of those, and I still do it, you know, from time to time, because I've decided that I wanted to live in the south again, and so but there are no opportunities in the South for work or, for anything really, whether it's recreation or anything really. So you've got to go up north. And that really irks me because in 2017, I came back to St. Lucia in 1997. We're now 2017 and I still have to do the same thing.
And we have to try new things. The things we have done in the past have not worked. It's gotten us to where we are right now. So we have to do something new. We have to do something innovative. And the people of St. Lucia elected the government and the Prime Minister, Alan Chastanet, to do that. So these are some of the unique ideas we see coming out of the government. And it does concern me when I see the opposition harp on this particular thing to criticize, because it has such prospects, it has such hope, especially for the development of the South.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. A lot of people have been asking me, and I was very concerned because I really thought it was just a call center. It's just a call center. I mean, why are we giving so much? Why are we investing in so much in a call center? And I did not know that some of the very same things that the opposition is harping about and they're vilifying this government for actually happened, or that there were other entities that benefited from those same initiatives or incentives, sorry. So I'm glad you put this one to rest.
No problem.
I'm glad for that. DSH.
Yes. Oh, that was what I wanted to come to, actually.
DSH seems to be this monster that's like it's like a cancer. You see how cancer grows on sugar? It feeds on sugar, and the more sugar it gets, the bigger it gets, and it metastasizes, and it just I feel DSH is like that. I feel like every other day there's something that comes up that is not even remotely related to the original issue of DSH.
So what has happened with DSH is almost what has happened with what we were just talking about in terms of Dr. Hiller and the constant need of the opposition to spread fake news in order to get support or mileage out of something, but they're not being honest with the people. We have had one. I just want to say also that the chairman of DSH, Tiawa King, he was in St. Lucia last week, and he actually met with the media, had a very frank, open discussion, was open to all kinds of questions on the project. So government is not trying to hide anything. We have put the developer in a position where he can answer all of those questions as well. And we have been doing our part in terms of getting the information out there to the public. What I have found is, despite the fact that you give the correct information, you have persons who are in authority and very high places and who are very influential in terms of even some of our MPs continuing to spread fake news about the DSH project. On several of our consultations, we have had repeatedly said that there are no plans to relocate persons from Bruceville. From what I understand, persons have been from the opposition have been going into Bruceville and scaring people and telling them government is coming to take your homes. This is not true. There are no plans as part of the DSH project to move the people of Bruceville. Even this evening, I was watching something online and I saw the MP for Vieux Fort North. He wrote breaking news that he just heard we're moving Bruceville to Vieux Fort North. Question mark, question mark. I don't know if he doesn't want people from Bruceville and Vieux Fort.
Now, I'll tell you something.
That's a joke, though. All jokes aside.
All jokes aside. But you know what, though? At the end of the day, the opposition, and I'm very sensitive to these things. I keep saying, my God, we're going to have a revolution in this country. And it may very well be bloody. And I honestly do not want to be anywhere near, or even my not even my dog, not even the frog in the yard that I'm afraid of so badly would I want to be anywhere near that when it happens.
There's an attempt to create chaos,
of course, and pandemonium. And I think, and I'll tell you what, there are certain words that are used, and then when you use those, they're almost like cue words, and you're creating mass hysteria. And I constantly hear that the people are divided, this DSH thing is dividing the people. But when Musa goes out and writes this makes this statement, that he says about the people of Bruceville will be, it's almost as if you're saying, probably Vieux-Fort North. They're people, no?
Yeah.
And they're part of the Vieux-Fort community, no?
What concerned me too is that, I mean, he posted a photo, and there have been plans in the past by previous governments to relocate persons. There, even by the previous government, to relocate certain persons from those areas, to remove them from
the squalor. Don't be afraid to say it. The
to remove
squalor.
them from the circumstances.
Moon. No, don't be afraid to say it. You've got to say, if I had a picture, I would show the people of St. Lucia what it's like. The Moon, the squalor. It's like a ghetto. It's like, it's not healthy.
It's not.
And I'm certain we will remember the people of Conway, what Conway was like, and that these people were relocated to better conditions. Okay? They were relocated to better conditions. And these things happen from time to time for the sake of development.
Process. The point is, there's a
process, right?
Government is not going to come tomorrow
and just say, you move on.
But I want to reiterate that
I almost feel like it's concentration camps. They're going to take these people and just lump them in concentration camps.
Yeah.
You know, the battle lines have been drawn.
There are people who benefit from spreading those lies. And I just want people, St. Lucians, to be aware that there are places you can get the factual information. We keep sharing it. We try to do as many interviews as possible. But I think, especially on Facebook, you find there's a proliferation. People are almost attracted to the fake news, the fake stories, you know, but some of it people believe. That is the sad part.
Can I ask you a question? I'm not sure if you'll have the answer, so don't feel put on the spot. You can tell me I don't have the answer to that. The people of Bruceville, do they own the lands?
At this point, those lands do, from what I understand, do belong to government.
They belong to government.
Yes.
So it's not like these are people who own the lands that they're on. They basically, I mean that in the. Let me just qualify that. I mean that in the most sensitive way and in the best way possible. I do not mean to disregard or to condescend on the people of I'm saying Conway, of Bruceville in any way, shape or form. There are entire communities that were built entirely on squatting. And as a result of squatting there for years and years, successive governments have made it possible through Proud for these people to own land. Well, maybe not where they lived, but they've made it possible for them to own land.
I don't know if you heard the presentation by the Honorable Guy Joseph, but he explained that the Proud program is going ahead, and we are going to continue to give people a piece of St. Lucia in terms of owning, having people to move out of those spaces and own their own piece of St. Lucia. So that program is continuing. He did announce that.
And I'm grateful because I wanted to come up to that, because I know a number of young people, children, brilliant children. They're going to the top tier schools. They're from the ghettos. Yeah. They're from the Brucevilles and the Mangs and all these areas. But then after secondary school, that's it. Yeah. They can't go any further. Even if they were to have gotten a scholarship, even if they were able to get opportunities, even if they got only distinctions in their examinations, they aren't able to go any further. Why? Because their parents can't afford.
Yeah.
They don't have a piece of land. They don't have a piece of property that they can mortgage and say, I am sending my child to school, because they're squatters. Yeah. They don't have title to the land on which they've built their homes.
Yeah. So once they have the title, then they won't be under threat anymore of government having. So you know, people won't be able to scare them.
So that comes back to, why would relocating people such that they can own their properties, they can have insurable homes, they can have lands that they can go to the bank and say, my child wants to go to university and I'm going to mortgage my home so that she or he could afford a loan to go. What's wrong with that? If you can just tell me what's wrong with that?
I think another important question is, what's wrong with the people who have people believe that there's something wrong with that? You understand? What's wrong with the politicians?
Meanwhile, they all have degrees.
Exactly.
They all own their homes.
What is wrong with the politicians who continuously to continuously perpetuate to those people that were coming to take their homes, when we would be moving them to someplace better, where they can have their keys, where they can have their land, where they can have a better lifestyle, where they can experience the good life that, you know, other persons in St. Lucia experienced.
But all of this is moot.
Yeah.
Because government has no plans as of yet to relocating the people of Bruceville.
And I mean, the Prime Minister has said it, I have said it, so many other of the ministers have said it. The only part of the project that is submitted for approval is the racetrack, which will be in Beauséjour. There are only three persons that would be relocated as part of that part of the project. That's phase 1, and those persons have already been engaged. I think we're engaged with the final person in terms of that situation. So this is where we are at right now. 3 persons in the Beauséjour area. I don't know if you probably know that better than me.
There you go. Now, I'm glad you brought up Beauséjour and the relocation of these people, because I was under the impression that there were masses of numerous farmers, livestock farmers, who are going to be relocated, you know, because there is this disease-free zone of how many thousands of acres, and these people have to move from where they are and go find other places to put their farms. Are you saying that's not true?
No, that's not true at all. I mean, the Ministry of Agriculture is involved in the process, and there will come a point where they will speak to farmers regarding the disease, equine disease-free zone. However, from my understanding, the 300 acres actually already encompasses the equine disease-free zone. So we can talk a little bit about what an equine disease-free zone is. It just means that standards needs to be adhered to. It doesn't mean you can't raise your livestock in this area or anything like that.
You're kidding me.
It means that there are certain strict standards that...
Wait, stop.
Yeah, this is...
It means that I can still have my pig farm
what will happen,
as long as I stay within the confines of whatever standards that you've given to me?
The standards will be completely raised. St. Lucia will have to meet certain criteria in terms of all our livestock farmers. So, I mean, like I said, the Ministry of Agriculture will be reviewing this and putting out more information on this. I'm sure the Minister... I'm sure we can get him on the show to maybe speak more to what will happen there. But from what I understand, the poultry, the livestock will just have to be of a certain standard. They will have to be monitored just to make sure they have no diseases. You know, because horses can be very sensitive. So we need to work together on all those issues. So
but that's what I'm saying. My main thing is you don't have to relocate, and you don't have to find other lands to put them on.
3 persons. I don't know how else to say it.
Jesus.
I don't know if
you know, I mean, I quarrel every day how they could tell the people to move. And how all the I mean,
and as part of our consultations, actually, we've already engaged a lot of the head of the farming groups in order to meet with them. So we did have a little bit of a setback in terms of the death of Mr. Winston Trim, who was very involved in the DSH project. You know, I have to mention him. He was so involved. He came to so many of the consultations that we had, and he was sharing a lot of information with persons about the racetrack. So we will start our consultations. We have been doing smaller ones, but we will start again to just educate people and try and... Unfortunately, we have to debunk a lot of the fears that are out there. We have to
I thought that for acres and acres and acres that they're going to have to relocate those people. I was thinking Auger, as far as maybe even as far as Labrie, would, you know, honestly, because the information that is disseminated out there is that, you know, you have to move for the thoroughbreds.
No. There's no other way to say it.
Well, there's only no other way to say it. Only means one thing.
Yes.
Okay, so that's fine.
But that's phase 1. So that's the racetrack.
And that's the only phase that has been approved.
That's the only phase that has been submitted to DCA. It has been approved in principle, but
it's still not approved yet, just in principle.
Because it is subject. We have rules in St. Lucia.
I didn't think so. I
That-
mean, I was.
We have rules in St. Lucia that people follow. We have a rule of law. We have environmental impact assessments that have to be done. We have social impact assessments that have to be done on these areas. And sometimes they can take quite a while. So, and you can't rush those things. They need to be done. So one of the things that's being done right now on the racetrack, I'm not sure, it should have been finished, but it's the environmental impact assessment on this area. So despite the fact that we only have 3 persons displaced and it's very flat land, we still have to do an assessment of how this development will impact on the area.
What about the mangroves? Are they going to be impacted in any way, or do we still have to wait for the EIA to?
Well, right now, the mangroves do not form part of the project
Now,
at this point.
I had heard that.
Yeah.
I had heard initially that it formed part, and then I heard after.
You see, and that's the
Certain
thing.
things that happen.
Government has to make decisions based on studies, based on the information that we had. So we needed to find out the state of the mangroves and all of that before we could make a decision on whether the mangroves could even be part of. In fact, the developer did his own studies of the area, and the mangroves are in such a poor state that it was removed from the project. So that's one of the reasons it was removed. Actually, it wasn't just because of the outcry, you know. So that was concerning to us as well in terms of the state of the mangroves.
We'll take a break. When we come back, more with my guest. Thank you for staying tuned, and so very sorry about that. I'm just recovering, as I said earlier, and it just got a little dry in the throat there. So thank you for bearing with me. Before we went on break, we were talking about DSH, and we were talking about all the massive number of farmers who are going to have to relocate, and we were saying that's not true, and that is only the first phase of the project that has already been approved in principle.
Yeah, that's correct. So the first phase is the racetrack. Then we move on to the second phase, and we've seen the unveiling of the second phase by the Prime Minister and the chairman of DSH. We did that in March, and we actually just had another unveiling because things have changed in terms of what we're proposing. What we were proposing was a causeway, but now what we're looking at is completely reclaimed land, which is not connected to Maria Islands or Sandy Beach at all. So this is one of the things we're looking at. You see, what has been happening since the developer unveiled the plans was he's been doing a lot of studies. He's been getting a lot of information in terms of our seabed and what is even possible there.
Right.
So, you know, behind the scenes, I just want people to know that there's a lot happening. There's a lot of tests. There's a lot of feasibility studies. The government is not just making a decision based on nothing. You know, what we have decided to do, the approach we've been decided to take is that we're sharing the information with the public
As it goes along.
as it goes along. Now, when people
you,
say they don't have information, that surprises me, because we put out so much information in terms of projects that are happening in St. Lucia that we never used to hear about before.
Right,
There was so much secrecy before, you know, but as we go, we are signing agreements in the public view. We invite the media, you know, the media actually comes to the office of the Prime Minister almost every Monday to do interviews with the ministers. You know, we facilitate that exchange.
we have our very first call online. Thank you for holding, and thank you for calling What's Happening Now with Laura. You're on the air.
Well, let me apologize for my question.
I don't know if we should accept the apology before we heard the question.
I want you to know, Laura, I'm ashamed to admit I have become something of a Facebook addict having fun. And so everybody I'm getting all kinds of messages right now about Nicole. And some of them I can't say on air.
Oh, boy.
But there's one I think worth saying. Somebody said she wasn't. She probably wasn't cut out for this political job with politicians and everything, because she doesn't have the countenance. Oh yeah, the countenance of an assassin, like Trump's guy.
Oh my
The
God.
countenance of an assassin.
Like Sean Spicer?
Yeah.
Oh my
you
gosh.
didn't have the countenance of an assassin, so that's a kind of a compliment.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, Nicole, I'm amazed at how you really fit into this. You got to be my guest one of these days. How you really fit into this thing. My goodness, I can't believe this.
The politicians don't even come on talk. You want me to come on talk?
Yeah, you've been on everybody's show except mine. So gotta have you on the show. But it's very, very
This is practice
interesting.
for when she comes to your show.
What is that?
It's practice for when she comes on your show.
Practice? Because
You know,
nobody practices.
I'm amazed sometimes at how much time Rick actually spends on Facebook, because sometimes you can get exasperated with all the fake stuff that people throw out there, and he spends a lot of time responding to a lot of things and having
That's
discussions with them. But I do think the internet has changed in terms of the level of discussion you can have. It deteriorates so quickly.
Absolutely, which is why I stay away.
Yeah, but, it's my time.
Yeah.
It's my time. Okay?
Yes, it is. You're
You got it.
certain.
But this fake news thing is a very, very serious problem. Actually, I'm glad you touched on that, because I couldn't believe this. In fact, I'm not even sure it was Musa who put that thing on there. You can never be sure even of that.
Absolutely.
That an MP would put that kind of stuff on there, and for it to be totally fake. Especially in the case of Musa, who likes to come off like a tell it straight kind of guy. So if this is not true and he puts it out as breaking news, I mean, that's taking fake news
To a new level.
to the limit. How does the Prime Minister's office deal with the deluge of fake news?
Well, what we try to do, Rick, as much as possible is to give the media the information, and like I said before, to give them access to the ministers to ask those questions. So we did have, like I said, the chairman of DSH who opened himself up to any question the media had. So we wanted the media to ask those tough questions that people are asking on Facebook and other mediums. You know, we also have our own pages, but like I said earlier, people sometimes gravitate towards the drama and the fake. So as much as possible, we do try to direct people in the right direction. Don't get me wrong, we could be doing more. I agree 100%. I don't know if that's where you're going, Mr. Wayne.
No.
No? Okay.
One final question.
Yes.
I have not been able to pin it down, but I've gotten in a number of arguments as to which came first, the press conference on the signing or the Richard Frederick leak. Which was first?
The signing was first. Well, I
just wondered.
the signing was in June, July? The signing came first, I believe.
It would have been great to have some dates.
Yeah.
On there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
The signing was actually done in July 2016. In terms of the,
That's right. It was shortly after election.
well, I don't know what to call it, but whatever's out there, I can't speak to when it actually came out, but the signing was actually in July. That's the signing of the framework agreement.
The press conference and the agreement that was first. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that I'm not sure when the Richard Frederick thing came out. What I do know was the signing was in July 2016.
That was not my question, no?
Yeah.
I was trying to find out which
Yeah.
was first,
Yeah.
the Richard Frederick expose or the other one. But thank you.
Yeah.
In
I
hindsight,
do think the signing was first. Yes.
In hindsight, would you say that it would not have been better for the government to now have waited until it had the EIAs and all the impact studies done before making it public about this project? Because I know what I can appreciate the need for transparency, particularly in an era where we have Grindberg that was hidden for 9 years and so many of these other things. I can understand the need for transparency. But having just had a framework agreement signed, maybe we were not
Yeah,
used to that
but
kind of thing.
Before
so
you
maybe
get to an EIA, you need to have a project. You need to have something that the government and the developer agree on in terms of
yeah, but I'm just saying maybe it should not have been made public at that point. But we have another call. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
We have another call online.
Yeah,
Hello.
Good evening, Laura.
Hi, good evening.
Nicole, good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
I'm good.
I can see that.
I'm
Okay,
having some problems with my earpiece, but I'm good.
Okay. Nicole, before I even say anything, I believe there is a show on NBC in the morning.
Yes.
You need to set the record straight on that show.
NBC?
Okay? NBC in the morning. Although I know you're not eloquent in Creole, but you might.
I think they will
I'll be happy
accommodate
to
her.
come on. I'll be happy to come on.
Because you know,
Yes,
because you
and
know
because
what, caller, you know what though? Because despite the fact that they made such a big fuss over Alan Chasney and Dominic Fady not being able to speak Creole, do you know that quite a number of people who watch the show oftentimes have to ask them to break it down because they don't know, and that's the young people, the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College students who watch the show. I remember the last time the former Prime Minister was on and he was speaking Patois, and then the students were calling and asking, tell the Prime Minister to speak English because we couldn't understand. So despite all of that, there is a huge section of our population who is not fluent in speaking Patois, and so they still need so they will
yeah, I'm
accommodate
happy
you.
for the invitation. I'll definitely come on.
You're very correct. And Nicole, I will tell you that in spite of what I heard this morning, that how they have sent invitation to the Prime Minister's office and stuff like that. So let us not dodge from anybody, any top show. We don't want to dodge from any of them, if so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, let me get to what I want to say. Okay, Nicole, listening to you here tonight, I get, let's say, 90% of clarification.
That 90% again.
I get 90% of clarification of what I need to know. Now, the other thing I want to speak now is politics. Nicole, if you, and Laura, if you can understand or view, we have had the people of St. Lucia voting for 5 prime ministers. I'm not talking about those who get it by default. Okay? And all of the prime ministers, apart from Sir John, we had a chief minister, and first and then 4 prime ministers. And if you check their lineage, everybody is from the south. Okay? John Campton come from Kanawang. Kanawang is near St. Vincent. It is from the south, and it represents Miku. Okay, we had George Charles, our first chief minister. If you check the linkage, he is from the south, migrated to Masha, and that was it. Then you have Alan Louisi. After
Hey.
yes, you have Alan Louisi, and after Alan Louisi, then
You didn't say where he was from. He's from Labrie.
He's from Labrie, yes. You have Dr. Kenny Anthony, who is from Salterbus and that area. And then you have Alan Chasney, who is from Soufriere. Okay? So right now, Nicole, what I want to see, you can listen to the opposition and see that they're against the South. They're against development in the South completely. Because, Nicole, all these people I mentioned there, Laura, all these people have been Prime Minister of St. Lucia and Chief Minister of St. Lucia. Let's not put too much on George Charles, okay? But the Prime Ministers, I want the Prime Ministers that have been elected, Sir John for 35 years, Dr. Anthony for 15 years, Alan Louisi, well, we know the scenario, okay? And then I want them to tell me, apart from Alan Chasney, that have the vision for the South, that see the poverty that is in the south of the country, that sees the need of the people of the South. You think we have a traffic jam and we did a fallen highway in Grosile to Castries as the result of Castries people or the people from the north? No.
Here's what I think, though, caller, and we're gonna wrap it up because we have other callers on the line. I think if we develop the South, and that's just me thinking, if we develop the South, then we would have less congestion in the north because of the vast majority of people who live up north, and I'm talking about from Castries upwards or even beyond Castries. Are transplants from the
But
South.
one of the things, just to add, caller, one of the things the Prime Minister announced in his budget presentation was that government would be preparing to do the North-South Highway, which we think will really alleviate some of that traffic and speak to something that you just spoke about in terms of persons who want to go to the South can use instead of persons who want to go to Castries can use the exactly.
Absolutely.
That's what I was coming to.
Yes.
Because all these people have to leave Castries and have to leave the South and come and purchase land, build homes in the North. Just because of there is no
their livelihoods in the north,
and not just that, we have people who have to leave their families. You know, sometimes you know it creates a social issue as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, the people that you grow up with, the people that you have known all your life, but because of maintaining your family and feed your family, you have to do something. So I believe the Prime Minister is doing the right thing by trying to develop the South, and I cannot wait to see these developments that have been signed to start. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. But he's absolutely right. A lot of the people who live up north in the northern basin, not just talking about Castries or Rodney Bay, but that entire basin, are transplants from the South. People who could no longer live in the South because there were no opportunities. And just can you imagine making $1,000 or back in the day $800, and half of that has to go into transportation.
The South has been neglected, he's correct, for a long period of time. I mean, just today we finally signed on to the range development, which will be in Black Bay, so that's going to be about 500 jobs for that area. So that's one of the other developments that just got announced this morning. So we expect construction to begin on that very soon.
We have another call online. Thank you for holding. Hello, we lost the call. Okay, please try calling again.
So you can see the direction the government is
going. There's a heavy push
to on develop, the South.
Right. We have another call on. Hello?
Hello, good night to you, Laura.
Hi, good night.
And good night to Nicole.
Good evening.
Since I just heard the two of you mention the highway from Groselet, I think it is... I remember some time ago, Dr. Anthony, while he was Prime Minister, said that there was some monies available, I think it was from the British government, for infrastructural works. I'd like to know, because that is when they mentioned building that highway from north to take it, I think, somewhere passing through Grottos and taking it to Dennery. So I'd like to know what the situation is with those funds. And secondly, I remember just last year, prior to the last general elections, there were some people from, I think it was the Jufali Foundation, who said that within 1 year that they would have begin work on the diabetic center. I'd like to know whether, since this new government came into office, whether there has been any contact with the Jufali Foundation, and what is the status of the diabetic center, please?
Thank you so much for your call.
I can't say that the government has found much information on the plans, the so-called plans that were announced that Jufali had for St. Lucia. The information is very scarce. That's what I can say in terms of.
I wish I had those memes, you know, the ones where the zipper on the mouth and or the one with no lips at all.
Yes, yes.
Because it was such a big issue.
It was a big issue, and there were a lot of things that we were told that were promises that were made, hence why this gentleman received such offerings from St. Lucia, but we never saw that materialize into anything. And we've come into government, and I can't say that the information on the so-called center has not been at the stage that we assumed it would have been when it was used as
There's a horse analogy that comes to my mind. There's a Creole horse analogy, but it doesn't come to my mind. But it's something along the lines of Fiel Mo Makumefini.
Yes.
You know, that type of thing. But there's one about horses. I can't remember. I would have been so apt to use the one about horses, but I can't remember. But it seems to me a prime case of Fiel Mo Makumefini.
Yeah.
You know, Jafal is gone. And anyway.
Evaporates.
So the next issue he
Yeah,
had about was the
that one will take some research. That one, yes.
The one about
yes,
the
definitely,
okay.
definitely.
So
I
you
will
get that
research that one
information,
for
you
the
let me know
caller.
and I can-
Definitely.
I can pass that on. But we've run out of time, Nicole.
It passes so fast.
It passes so fast. But just briefly, and that will be your closing, briefly, just give us some idea as to how the Jazz Festival went. I would really love to have somebody come on the show and to really talk to us about Soleil and jazz and rhythm and blues or the reggae and all of the sub-festivals that come under Soleil. But briefly, a synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, the government is trying to do something very new in terms of Soleil, this entire summer festival. So we will have challenges. The festival will have to be given time in order to get to the point where, you know, we attract. And I don't even think we want it to get to a point where we attract a huge crowd that just kind of takes over St. Lucia. The point is to create a quality experience in St. Lucia for visitors to St. Lucia so that they continue to talk about St. Lucia and they continue to come for the other festivals. So they don't just come for Jazz Week, they also come for reggae, they also come for country, you know. So that's one of the things we're trying to do with the festival. So, you know, it will take some time to get to that point, but I do know for that in terms of what happened this year, we do appreciate the many sponsors that came on board for the festival this year. I have to say that especially on Sunday, the music was phenomenal, and Saturday as well. So and I heard a lot of people talk about the quality of music and the quality of the experience that they got at Jazz. So I think that's one of the things we need to concentrate on. And going forward, I also want to, you know, to tell St. Lucians to support their own. You know, we will see a lot of local acts on the lineups, and I think that is very good because we've had some quality music over time, and I don't think the St. Lucia Jazz Festival really represented that quality music that we have coming out of St. Lucia. We almost continue to celebrate other people's music and we forget our own. I mean, right now I just heard the Minister for Tourism announce recently that we're in some kind of, there are concerns about payments that went out to CASAV that CASAV never received for a jazz festival in 2016.
Oh, wow.
So that is definitely a concern to us. So what we have done, one of the first things we did was to kind of revamp the Jazz Festival. So it's not going to cost us $14 million anymore to put on one festival. And even after it cost us $14 million, we still had a situation where a band, a very expensive band, has not
Been paid.
Has not received the funds.
Right.
So this is definitely concerning to us. And I just want St. Lucians to know that this is not how this government operates. We will not be running a festival for $14 million. Actually, the preliminary figures, I think, show that Jazz probably cost us this year about $4 million.
Oh, wow.
And there were some very successful shows at the Royalton. You know, we had a successful show on the Sunday, successful in terms of the music and the experience. And I think, you know, people need to, we have different genres for different people, but what we will be doing is doing it in a very cost-effective way, you know, and just managing the festival. And that's one of the things the Prime Minister spoke to. We need to manage those agencies properly so that they don't end up costing us so much money.
Right.
Government can't just be putting out $14 million for one event, and I think at that time $11 million was budgeted for it, so they actually went over. You know,
I really would like to sink my teeth in the statistics of it all, because that's one of my favorite parts of marketing and the whole experience is the stats and analyzing all of that. I really love to see at least 5 years, or maybe choose a base year when it was the epitome of the Jazz Festival. And I always thought that the Jazz Festival wasn't really a jazz festival as we ended it on the 25 years, more a music festival. But I'd really like to see this year compare it to other years, and to even look forward to next year to see how that will pan out, because I think then you'd have an entire year to really fix all of these teething problems and whatnot.
There were a lot of issues. There were other issues even with the lineup in terms of the same local acts getting on the lineup for year to year. And that's the thing. Things are not being spread around. And if you have one major festival, then how can you do that?
Right.
So if you have a lot of other festivals, you get your local acts to share the stage with, you know, regional acts and international acts. They can add that to their resume. They can make contacts. So we have to help our people, you know, in terms of you know, making those connections so that they can be successful.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Nicole, I want to thank you again for rolling through our studios. I mean, this is the second time and wonderful as usual. You answered a lot of questions with me. At some point, I began to realize how much I did not know, because even myself, I fell into, oh, wow, how could our government ask us to give up so much, and how can our government be giving so much of what we have for ourselves to other people, not really understanding. And I think maybe that's something that your department could do a little bit more, work a little bit more on. That is the information dissemination. A lot of it we need to know. Now, I'm not mainstream media, I'm not mainstream, I'm not a journalist, so a lot of the times when you have your press briefings, I can't make it because I have to make a living myself. So a lot of the information I now have to go and seek and find. So I'm very grateful that you came on. I know it was last minute that you came through, but a lot of the questions that we had, at least I had, you were able to answer. So when people meet me on the streets and they ask me, I don't no longer have the luxury of saying, well, I'm not government, I don't know. Now I have information I can pass on, and as questions are being asked of me, I can maybe pass that on to you, and you can give me the information.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy for the opportunity to share as much information as possible.
So thank you once more. I mean, we didn't get a chance to go through everything, but the salient points that I really wanted to touch on, we did that. So thank you so much for that. This is where we end. But before we do, I'm so glad that the last caller mentioned the thing about the diabetes, because it reminded me that tomorrow is World Hypertension Day, and the theme of which is know your numbers. Now, originally, my guest tonight was supposed to have been a pharmacist who would talk to us about hypertension and the importance of staying on your meds and how so important it is to know your numbers and to keep those numbers controlled. Unfortunately, that didn't come to pass. But I also I want to remind all of us out there, we know we're a nation that is at risk for hypertension. We have one of the highest rates of diabetes in the world, and diabetes and hypertension is like hand in glove. Please remember to take your medication, take it in the right doses, take it on time, and know your numbers. Until next week, adieu.